Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today I wanted to consider the concept that thinking for ourselves is the start of a real breakthrough. So once you start to think for yourself, that's when you will achieve a breakthrough on a literal spiritual level. Now, what does it actually all mean? We have heard of this concept. We hear it all the time from other people or on TV or on their YouTube channels. But yet, most people might not really consider it as deeply as they should. Because thinking for yourself is such a great concept, such a powerful foundation from which to live, that if we just assume it means that you don't go along with mass consciousness the way it is, you're only sort of scratching the surface of that concept. Because once you understand the power of thought, then you also understand the real power that you hold as an individual expression of life, of a point of awareness within the universe. Now first I wanted to share with you a couple notes that I have on my monitor here, and then we're going to go over this further. I wrote the following: thinking for yourself means to literally think for yourself. So if I want immortality, I dare to think I am immortal. If I want success or whatever else, I dare to think I am just that. Even if the whole physical world laughs and thinks I'm insane. If I dare to think it, I will become it, or at least experience elements of my own thought patterns. And that is a great power and secret that is hidden due to our tendency to follow along with mass consciousness and trying to fit in. We don't want to stand out. We are afraid people will laugh at us and ridicule us. This actually makes me feel such freedom and power. I'll gladly accept it for myself. Because I can sense, if I were to entirely stop going along with what the world is saying and doing, I can determine my own world in the most intense way possible. The physical life is like a training ground where we all can learn to individually control our minds and use that skill for all of eternity. We have to be comfortable with thinking for ourselves. Always there's this tendency to wonder what others might think of what we do, or whether they would agree with what we think. But if we dare to lay hold of the power of a thought and simply think whatsoever we want, regardless of mass consciousness, we will find our true spiritual power through which we can shape and mold our own destinies. We don't need to consent from the world concerning our way of thinking. We need our own decision and consent to exercise the unlimited power of thought, to think whatsoever you want to think about anything in your world, so that you may grow towards and manifest the very concepts of your own mind. Now that final line that I wrote, we have to be comfortable with thinking for ourselves, is absolutely huge. And I don't say that to be arrogant or because I wrote it myself. It's none of that silly stuff about the ego here. The reason why it's absolutely huge is because this is something that we have to become aware of for ourselves. And I know this is the case for almost everyone, if not actually every human being, is that once we grow up, we grow up in a society where we have a set form of rules. We have a list of rules that we follow along with as a society, as an individual within a group. So there comes the group thinking. So we agree on certain activities that are not allowed, that we don't condone, that we agree on, okay, that's too negative, that's too destructive. We don't want that to just happen. We can talk about all sorts of morbid stuff that might occur in the world, but you get the idea. Illegal stuff that is against the law, basically. We agree, okay, we won't do that. Some will, and they get arrested eventually, or they might get away with it, if they're lucky in that sense, but they will end up getting arrested and going to jail for it. So we have these rules where we're like, okay, I'm not going to think about doing such activities then, because I don't want that result or that effect to happen in my life. But now the thing is, as we are agreeing on those things as a group, we automatically sort of become in the habit of doing that with more and more aspects of our lives. So this is where the individual ability to think for ourselves gets lost. It gets buried underneath group thinking. And that's why we have to reach a point again that we become comfortable with thinking for ourselves. I gave a few examples that might be bizarre to the average person, where I said, if I want immortality, I dare to think I am immortal. You might say to that, that's not possible. How would you explain my mom or dad passed away, or my brother, sister, or a friend, or other people in general, they pass away? How can you then become immortal? You think that? Well, first of all, what I'm getting at is the fact that I can think that regardless of whether you agree with me or not. Now, this is where people find it gets a little scary, because if I start to think in ways that you don't agree with, that it might mean that I'm insane. And at a certain extent, you could say we're all insane to a certain degree. I mean, we all accept things that are absolutely ridiculous as we go through this physical life experience. However, me thinking that doesn't hurt you, and neither, if you were to think it, doesn't hurt me. But yet I might verbally say, I don't agree with your stance, or you might verbally say to me, I don't agree with your stance or ideals here, but that's okay. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't really become a problem for any of us. But yet we're afraid of that effect. We're afraid that people might not agree with us. But yet if you can find agreement within your own soul on whatever you think about, then you find some power. I think you become very self-reliant in the most spiritual, powerful way possible for any individual. You basically dare to think of yourself in whatever way you want. So if you want to think of yourself as an immortal being, you can do that. It doesn't matter if the masses or the most part of the world wouldn't believe you. You still have that power to think that and to enjoy that thought within your own consciousness, and then let it see wherever it leads you. Just see wherever it takes you, that thought pattern. Now, an interesting fact is that some people would say, well, people should be more realistic about things. They should live more in the physical world alone. If we're just going to live in the physical world alone, we're only seeing a fraction of who we really are and the real nature of reality, because most of what we are experiencing happens on an invisible level itself. Our thoughts and feelings are invisible, but yet they are one of the most powerful forces that are operating in our lives currently, and we never take the real time to study them, to analyze what that power is all about. But what you're going to discover is that that power is going to allow you to think for yourself under all circumstances that you will face. And that's the most important part to grasp about learning to think for yourself. That is when the breakthrough happens. That's when you discover that no matter what has happened to you in the past, no matter what has happened to you currently, physically speaking, no matter whether you failed or didn't achieve your wildest dreams in life, you can still think about achieving those dreams and look forward to the realization of those dreams and be filled with absolute gratitude and love and passion to make it happen. This all happens inside of your own consciousness. And even if other people like your friends or family or society at large doesn't share that same excitement for the realization of your dream, if you can let go of their level of thinking, if you can let go of what they think about it, you can simply enjoy the dream in your own individual way within your own consciousness, and then automatically starts to be expressed with and through you in the physical world. And that can only happen again if you think for yourself. So if you're going for this big dream that you may have, never worry about what other people think of it. And also don't make yourself dependent upon what other people think of it. Don't think, oh, I need the admiration or like the support from this or that person. Because if you think like that, you're making yourself so dependent upon whether they want to help you out or not, that if they refuse for whatever reason, if they're unable, for example, to help you out right now, you might suddenly feel bad about it. You start to lose connection with your dream. You start to lose motivation to keep going if you don't watch out. There's a very real risk that can happen, and it actually happens to many people. It ties back to that mass conscious way of thinking that you need the right context in order to succeed. No, what you need is to use your mind in the right way. You need your own mind in order to succeed. This whole foolish idea of you need this or that person, else you can't succeed, makes it so that we never want to give it a shot to go for our dreams, because more often than not, most of us, they don't have the right context when we start out. We only have our minds, and that's exactly the one main creative power that is active with and through your entire physical existence. So you gotta understand the power, the real power behind thinking for yourself. It means that you can stand within a society, and even though that whole society doesn't agree with you, you still stay loyal to your own thoughts and convictions and dreams, regardless of what happens outside of yourself. Now, if you think about it, that's a real powerful mentality to possess, to develop, to become. It will help you out tremendously, because of this world is always going to impress contradicting things onto your mind. It's always going to confront you with things you probably don't like. People do things that you don't agree with, so you don't like it automatically. Your lover dumps you, cheats on you, whatever, and you don't like that. Your parents die, you don't like that. I mean, all this stuff that happens all the time, comes from the outside world. And of course it hurts us. There's nothing wrong with being hurt. Usually it's temporarily, that's the healthy way if it's temporarily. If you stay stuck there forever, that's a bad sign as well. That's a totally different subject altogether. But even though that comes from without, what you want to understand is that you have a power within yourself that can always guide you to a fulfilled life. It can help you create a fulfilled life through the simple power of your own mind, to the power of your own thoughts. So you have to start thinking for yourself. No matter what you face right now, understand that the very thing you face, that you're observing, business is going bad, rent is due, you don't have the money, you don't have this or that, you don't see a future for yourself and how you could get out of this situation that you're in right now, simply start thinking about it. Really start thinking, start exercising that God-given power of thought. Start thinking for yourself. Start to think, yes, I can succeed. Yes, I will succeed. Yes, others have succeeded. Yes, I can do it as well. Yes, I will start thinking about what I really want. Now, years ago, I started to learn about this concept in my own way and time, and it wasn't easy right away, but now years later, I can tell you it becomes easier. But it's always going to be something that we're going to have to do consciously. We can't just let our minds run wild and wander all over the place. This is a conscious power that needs to be directed consciously by us if we want to make the best use of it. And the sad part is, the longer you refuse to do it, the harder it seems. The older you are, the more it seems like a pain in the ass to do this. But yet it will still benefit you, because that is the only power you really have. That is the only power that goes with you beyond the physical grave. And that's the beauty of learning to think for yourself, because as you do, you will start to create and mold your own destiny. You'll become able to form your reality according to what you want. Because even outside of the body, you're going to have to direct the direction in which you go through your own consciousness. And you can only do that over there or over here by working with it willingly and with a purpose. Stay focused on your purpose. Start thinking about what you want. Start to think for yourself. And remember the points that I shared at the beginning of this video. I will share the final point one more time. We have to be comfortable with thinking for ourselves. Always there's this tendency to wonder what others might think of what we do, or whether they would agree with what we think. But if we dare to lay hold of the power of thought and simply think whatsoever we want, regardless of mass consciousness, we will find our true spiritual power through which we can shape and mold our own destinies. We don't need the consent from the world concerning our way of thinking. We need our own decision and consent to exercise the unlimited power of thought, to think whatsoever you want to think about in your world, so that you may grow towards and manifest the very concepts of your own mind. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.